We had been in a very dry place for about a year spiritually. We had visited so many churches, and when we walked into New Life, it was just the presence of God and the feeling that we had found community.
As often as we could get free and come up here, we would get in the car and we would come up and go to New Life Church. It's about a 3.5-hour trip from Longview to Little Rock, Arkansas, and we made that trip several times. We basically had kind of come to the conclusion that either God was going to have to open up a job and an opportunity, or we were going to have to stop doing this. Putting church first as a priority opened up so many other doors that God allowed us to walk through. A job showed up that was amazing in the Benton community and put us really close to the church that we wanted to be a part of. And when you think about 5,000 kids, you have the opportunity every day in this profession and in this business to look at each one of those numbers and those kids and those stories and understand that they're important to God and they should be important to us. Don't sit on the bench and watch the story unfold, but get in the game.
I came 17 years ago to Arkansas. I came for a missionary trip. I became passionate for this place. And every time that I talk about it, I even cry. But I am so passionate for this place. And I was invited to go back to my country, to pastor ministry. But God put in my heart to be here in Arkansas. When I went to a house, an immigrant who had been years and years in the States, even that they have job, a better lifestyle, when I came to their life, they were miserable because they don't have any purpose in life. Their family was all broken. And I shared the gospel. These people decide to have a new life. So I pray in their house, and all the family just received Christ on that day. Next Sunday, they come church. They say, here we are to serve God. And they had been in church for a long time. That's when I knew that I was called to this place and nowhere else.
You may not be able to go on a mission trip to China or Haiti, and while those things are super important, there are mission opportunities right outside your back door.
In our neighborhood, there was a carport that had been damaged. It was about to fall in, and it was going to cause this lady to be hurt. So I asked a few of the guys at the fire department if this was a project they would like to join in on, and there were about 6 or 7 guys that were just really excited to come out. Some of these firefighters that came and helped are unchurched or may not even be believers at all.
And just to get them to be a part of seeing the church in action and being the hands and feet of Jesus, it's really a blessing.
And we have a heart for reaching out to the lost, the people that are just down on their luck, and just showing them that God still loves them and that He's watching out for them.
When we work together towards the vision of the Arkansas that God sees, we are able to meet and serve the needs of the lost and lonely and hurting people in our communities and in the state of Arkansas. And we are so excited to be a part of the vision.
I was just a body, a sheep at New Life. I was just in the crowd. I was still living somewhat of a sinful life. And God kicked my feet out from under me. In that pain, it started to become clear the life that He has chosen for me and the things that He wanted us to do.
Our first life group was a marriage group.
And after that, we started co-leading a small group. Then after that, we led a small group. Being a sheep is hard, and being a shepherd is even harder. We have enough sheep, but we don't have enough shepherds. I see that as being the biggest part of the vision, is finding those sheep and transforming them into shepherds.
All of us have been gifted something, and God has a place for us to use it. A lot of times we think that ministry just starts from the platform, and it's our pastor's responsibility to deliver a message and win souls, but really your ministry is standing in line at Walmart. It's in the break room at your job, just living your life in front of other people and winning souls one at a time.
In 2010, I was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer. When the cancer went to my brain and then they told me that I had probably 5 months to live, that was just really hard. Knowing that I had 3 little boys and I just didn't want them to grow up without their mom. At that moment, I guess, is when I decided that I wasn't going to let the cancer win, and that I was going to put the faith that I had grown up with in God, I was going to put that first, and I was going to put that to the test. For the Arkansas that God sees, we all need to work together. No one fights alone. I can't do it on my own. And I think that's why it's so important for the church and the community just to stick together and hold everybody up. Someone you may not even know may be going through the hardest time in their life, and they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to tell anybody about it. But if you feel led to do something, then you need to go out and you need to do it.
In 2006, we opened the practice in Searcy with one employee and one laptop and a vision. And not long after that, my son, who was a month old, got sick and had to be med-flighted to Children's and spent a week in ICU. And the medical doctors were inviting me in to give my opinion based on the things they were proposing. And I just looked at him and said, please, just do as if he was yours. And that changed my life in more ways than I can describe to you. And I translated that into my practice, knowing the fact that I had an opportunity to touch kids' lives, not only dentally, but also through being the hands and the feet of Christ. I talked with the staff and the team members who are involved and said, listen, each day when every patient walks in this door, before we ever look in their mouth, let's make sure that we know them as a person. We check in on them, being the hands and the feet of Christ and letting Christ work through us. The Arkansas that God sees, it's going to be a place where people can come together and grow together and fall together. But it's okay. We grab arms, we get up, and we move forward. And I think that's the Arkansas God sees.
The highlight of my playing career was when I was able to win the United States Golf Association's Senior Amateur in 2007. I spent my entire life very self-motivated, and then I was asked to put on the Dream Center golf tournament this year. I was so afraid of what somebody else might think if I made a stand for Christ, but once I did and I realized, golly, that's the best feeling I've ever had. I wanted more of it, and I told my wife, I said, we got to be a part of this in some way. My thought when I realized that I had a gift that could help the church is that why had I not realized that so much earlier in my life? And then the next question was, can you do the best you can the rest of your life? Which is, yes, I want to do the best I can for Christ, however many years I've got left here. I'm proud to be a part of the vision. I'm proud to see it. I see it, I get it, and it's real. It can be achieved, and to be a small part of that is so exciting.
As I've spent time flying and being a pilot in the Air Force, and it's a great job, and I love my job, and it's truly my passion, truly my calling, but sometimes you have to take a step back and look at your life and the world from God's point of view and be like, well, what matters most? What matters for eternity? And that's why, being a part of the youth and just leading them and spending time with them, mentoring them, is what matters for eternity. Therefore, it's what's going to give you the most joy.
When we step out of our comfort zone and we take that step forward in obedience and do what God has put on our hearts to do, and in our case, it's helping out the youth. It's so satisfying. Even though I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm investing time in these youth, and it's a commitment, it's an investment, but it's so worth it.
These students, they are our future. They are our future for Arkansas. They are our future for our country. And that's truly the Arkansas that God sees, is these students coming up as leaders and becoming the next generation, and they're going to lead us in the future.
Our story begins, we met in Kenya, two Arkansans. Both of us were doing mission work, came back to Arkansas, dated, got married, and now we're here in Fayetteville.
I'm in grad school, and Richard works in an elementary school. The thing that God's placed in front of us here is walking into grad school, met international students, and just God has allowed us to build relationships with these international students, to invite them into our home, to get to know them, to do life with them. It's so much fun and it's so rewarding. But in that sharing truth with them, there was a moment in grad school where one of the guys in my lab passed away from cancer, and I can't say to this day whether he knew Christ or not. But that moment really changed our mindset towards these international students.
Life is short. Life is fragile. People who don't know Christ are hopeless. And if Jesus has changed our life and he loves us, how can we say we love him and love others if we're not willing to tell them, to show them? We've got to have these conversations. We tell you this because
we love you.
We love you and he's changed our life. How can we say we love you and believe this if we're not willing to tell you?